Welcome to the Bodhi Academy. My name is Abhisha Plaso, and in today's video we will start with the chapter Introduction to Graphs, Class 8, Chapter 30. Now, have you seen graphs in newspapers, television, magazines, books, etc.? The purpose of the graph is to show numerical factors in visual form so that they can be understood quickly, easily and clearly. Okay, now so graphs are basically like a visual representation of any particular given data. Instead of reading the data, we prefer to look at something which is more easier to understand and more time consuming in that case. So graphs are one such method to do both the things simultaneously. So thus graphs are visual representations of collected data. Whatever their data might be, it can be turned into an output of graphs, and therefore it can be read easily and quickly. Data can also be represented in the form of a table. However, a graphical presentation is easier to understand. This is true in particular when there is a trend or comparison to be shown. Now this specially helps in cases where there is a certain trend, okay, like there is say increase in the petrol that is gradually increasing without any decrease, the prices of petrol are increasing, or the prices of something else are increasing, or you want to see how much marks a student is scoring, a particular student in all the subjects, and you want to like compare his marks throughout the year. In such cases, you can use a graphical representation which has a trend, or it is easier for a better comparison. Now we have already seen some types of graphs. Let us quickly recall them here. So the first graph that we know is a line graph. So a line graph displays data that changes continuously over a period of time. Okay, so it can be changed continuously over a range of time. Okay, after some time it will change again, after some time it can change again, it doesn't remain constant. So there is some kind of trend, some kind of change that is occurring. Now for example, when Renu fell sick, her doctor maintained a record of her body temperature taken every 4 hours. It was in the form of a graph. We may call this a time temperature graph. So now what they are saying, when Renu had fallen sick, what happened? The doctor took a graphical representation of her body temperature after every 4 hours. So after, like, if he starts at 8 o'clock or 2 o'clock, then next he would continue at 6 o'clock, like this, in between 4 hours gap, and he would check her temperature. Now this is a pictorial representation of the following data given in a tabular form. So now this is the time, this is in tabular form. So time is 6 am, then 10 am, 2 and 6 pm. Okay, so these have equal interval of time. So 6 here we have equal interval of time, that is 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10. So after 10 hours, again here 10, 11, 12, 1 and 2. So here again after 4 hours. So such representation has been done, and these are her body temperatures accordingly. So now if you look here, what you see is that on this straight, the vertical line that we have, we call it the y-axis. In the horizontal line we call it the x-axis. So this is this line. So on x-axis we have the time that is given, and on y-axis we have the temperature that is given. Okay, so now each piece of data is shown by a point on the square grid. So basically this is how the graph usually be. Now in this case what we do is that each, the temperature, corresponding temperature is marked by a given point over here. So now what does this point tell us? So time is what? It is 6 am in the morning, and her temperature was 37, sorry. So this is 36, so this middle line will be 37, 30, then 31, 32, 33, 35, 37, 39 and 41. So these are all the temperature variations that are there. So at 6 am they are saying her temperature was 37 degree Celsius. Then after 4 hours, that is at 10 am, her temperature rise to 40 degree Celsius, correct? Then at 2 pm the temperature again reduced to 38 degree Celsius, and last at 6 p.m. her temperature was back to 35 degree Celsius. Okay, so now once each piece of data is marked onto the graph, then you join it by using a line. Okay, so this to this you draw a line, then this to this, so then here to here, and then here to here. So you have to draw a line. So this as a whole represents the line graph. So the points are connected by aligned segments. This results in the line graph. Now what does the graph tell you? For example, you can see the pattern of temperature. More it is, highest temperature is at what time? It is 10 o'clock. Then the lowest temperature was noted at 6 p.m. Okay. Notice that the temperature has increased by 3 degree. So now what you can say here, between this point at 6 a.m. and 10 a.m. Okay. At 6 a.m. her temperature was what? 37. And at 10 a.m. her temperature was 40. So how much is the difference between these two? So her temperature has rise 3 degree Celsius, correct? So this also data can be obtained from it. And there was no recording of temperature at 8 a.m. However, the graph suggests that it was more than 37 degree Celsius. Okay. Now next, example 1, a graph on performance. Now that was a graph on, that was a temperature time graph. Now we will look at a performance graph. Now the given graph represents the total runs scored by two batsmen A and B during each of the 10 different matches in the year 2007. Study the graph and answer the following questions. Okay, so let's look at the graph first. So these are the graphs. Now in this graph we have two data that are given simultaneously. One data is of this batsman A and one is of this batsman B. Okay, so now you have to answer the questions that are given looking at this graph. So on the y-axis we have the runs scored, and on the x-axis we have the number of matches. So now first question is, what information is given on the two axes? So on, we can say, we can write down, so y-axis tells us the runs scored. Okay, runs scored by batsman A and B. Okay, and x-axis it shows number of matches played in 2007. Okay, so these are the two data that are given on the two axes. Now which line shows the runs scored by batsman A? Which line is it? The dotted line shows the runs scored by batsman A. Dotted line. Then where were the runs scored by them same in any match in 2007? So we have to check. So runs are this. Any runs that they had scored were same. So these are the runs. So here we have 110. Any point that comes in the same line. So this. So if we look, okay, here, see here at this point, here what you can see that the batsman A as well as the batsman B has scored a total of 60 runs. So therefore in this case both of them have scored 60 runs. So in which match it was? It was in the fourth match. So we can write fourth match, both scored 60 runs. Okay, now among the two batsmen, who is steadier? How do you judge it? Who is more steadier, as in who has consistently given good runs? Now if you look at batsman A, okay, so the batsman A, he has a great peak, okay, and what you also see is that he has scored maximum runs also, but what you see that he has very low this depths also. In that case he has not scored at all any score. So here he has scored higher score, then here no scores at all, 0. Then again he rises little, then every time he was rising he was equally falling down. So what we can see about batsman B is that he is very consistent. Okay, he is not rising also so much, nor has he fallen down also so much. So what we can say is that since A has a lot of ups and downs, B is more consistent and a reliable batsman. Okay, so among the two batsmen who stayed here, it is B. Okay, and how do you judge? Looking at the ups and downs in the graph. Okay, so now like this we have to look and interpret a given graph and answer the following questions. Now let's look at another example. Now in this, the given graph describes the distance of a car from a city P at different times when it is traveling from city P to city Q, which are 350 km apart. Study the graph and answer the following question. So this is a travel graph in which this is the y-axis. So y-axis we have distance and x-axis we have again time here. Now first question, what information is given in the two axes? Again same. So y tells us distance from point P, that is city P, in kilometers, and x-axis it tells us the time interval. Correct? Next, from where and when did the car begin its journey? So from where did the car begin its journey? It started from here, started from point P and it went up till point Q, and when it started at 8 and it stopped at 2 p.m. Correct? From city P to Q, which are 350 kilometers apart. So it started from P, and when did the car begin its journey? At 8 a.m. Okay. Now, how far did the car go in the first hour? So this 8 to 9. So it traveled how much? From 0 to 50. So it went up to 50 kilometers. How far did the car go during the second hour and the third hour? Now, during the second hour, if you look, this is the 1 hour, so this is the second hour. So second hour, you have to look here and you have to look straight onto this axis. So it is 150 kilometers in the second hour. So it is 150, and third hour it is, so this is 1, 2 and 3. At 11, it was around 200 kilometers. Okay. Now, was the speed same during the first 3 hours? How do you know? Was the speed same? So here, what is the difference? This is 50. Then now here, from here to here, the difference has increased. Correct? So it wasn't same. Why? We can say, now see, in this 1 hour, it covered 50 kilometers. Okay. In the second hour, what has happened? It went from 50 to 150. So here what is the difference is, it covered 100 kilometer in the second hour, and in the third hour it again covered only 50 kilometers. So therefore what we can say, that the speed wasn't same. And how do you know? Looking at the difference in the distances that it has traveled. Okay. Did the car stop for some duration at any place? Justify your answer. Yes, over here, see, at this time 11 to 12 it was at the same 200 kilometer, which means if the graph is straight here, it means that there was a halt over here. So the car had stopped at in between at 11 to 12. When did the car reach city Q? It reached at here at 2 p.m. Okay, so like this we have to basically interpret any given line graph data. Okay. So that was it for today's video. Please don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the Bodhi Academy.